Good evening, my fellow Americans. Today is the 25th of March, 2026, and this is A Quiet Rage. So, to start with, because this came up recently, yesterday as a matter of fact, I was once again accused of, basically, of just hating Trump because he's not a Democrat. I want to make this very clear. Yes, I absolutely do hate Trump, but not because he's a Republican and I'm a Democrat. Not because he won 2 elections and my candidate lost in those elections. I hate him, and I claim the authority to speak for a fair number of other people who feel similarly. I hate our president, the president of these United States, President Donald Trump. I hate him because he's an awful person. Because he's everything that we teach our children not to be. He's a bully. He brags on himself for no reason. It's just not confidence. This is arrogance, born of nothing. He hasn't done anything to brag about. He is mean and small-minded. He punches down. His only sense of humor, if you can even call it that, is making fun of people that are beneath him, that he thinks are beneath him, I should say. The man's never told a good joke in his life. And a sense of humor is an indicator of an active and a sharp mind, which he also does not have. He is thoroughly incurious. He doesn't think he has anything to learn from anybody. He's a racist. He's a bigot. He's a sexist. He's homophobic. He's transphobic. He's xenophobic. He's a narcissist. He's a bad person. And then he got elected and started doing objectively bad things to our country and for our country. It's not that I disagree with his policies, though I do. That's not why I hate him. There are plenty of Republicans, I should say, with whom I disagree that I don't hate. We hate him because he's a bad person. I'm gonna leave it at that. That's more than enough. Just don't get MAGA, I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to let you know what's really going on here, because you seem to think that we hate him just because he won. That's not why. So, the main topic I want to talk about today. So we are a month now into the U.S.-Israeli war against Iran. And it's been alluded to in different corners by different people that this is just a repeat of American incursions, interventions, whatever you want to call it, in the Middle East. Well, some people saying this is just basically that Trump is George Bush 3.0. Well, it occurred to me this weekend, this last weekend, that there was a book on my bookshelf that I'd had for quite a while, and I'd meant to read. And I thought maybe this would be a good time to read The Bomb in My Garden. It's by Dr. Mahdi Obeidi. Obeidi? I know I'm not pronouncing that properly. It is the story of Dr. Mahdi's rise to prominence of some in the scientific community, in the scientific leadership of Saddam Hussein's Iraq. Mahdi was a scientist. He trained in the United States. He was originally trained in at the Colorado School of Mines, and oil production was his focus. He later became one of the top scientists in the burgeoning nuclear program in Iraq. And the reason that the name of the book is The Bomb in My Garden is because during the 1991 Operation Desert Storm, when it was clear that the United States was going to roll into Iraq and bad things were going to happen, the nuclear program, which was this close to starting to actually produce nuclear material to make a bomb. That was the goal, was to make a bomb. They were also building reactors for power, but they wanted a bomb. Saddam wanted the bomb. And he said so in speeches. As a matter of fact, he said after 1991 that he did things the wrong way. He should have gotten the bomb and then invaded Kuwait. He should have waited. Anyway, so Dr. Mahdi was the head of the nuclear program and did a great many things to try and hide it. There was, at one point, nuclear inspectors came to a facility that he and his staff had completely removed all the centrifuges, all the paper, all the documents, all the drawings, all the prototypes, everything. Moved it to a different location, and the UN inspectors came and took paint samples and soil samples around the building. And Dr. Mahdi saw them do that and knew that they were going to send them back to a lab and they were going to get tested, and there would be elevated levels of radioactivity in those samples. But he also knew that these people were very meticulous and that a single positive test result wouldn't be enough, that they would come back and retest that building that was allegedly, there was no nuclear program, that he was working on, I think, a brass company, a brass factory at the time. That's the story, his cover story. So he had his staff rip out the walls and rip up the carpet and dig up an inch or several inches of topsoil around the building, so that when the inspectors came back to test everything again, all their tests came back negative because they'd removed all the material that had the residual radioactivity in it. A very smart guy. So, as I was saying, when Iraq was being pushed out of Kuwait, the Iraqi Saddam's Ba'ath Party, they panicked. They knew that there was a possibility that things were going to go poorly, so they dismantled everything and hid everything, and Dr. Mahdi took prototype pieces of a centrifuge, drawings, documents, etc., put them in a barrel and buried them in his garden. And there were members as high as Saddam's son Kusei, who knew at some point throughout the story, who knew that that Dr. Mahdi had these items buried in his garden. There were weapons of mass destruction. There was a stated goal of Iraq, the Saddam Ba'ath Party, gaining access to a nuclear bomb, building a nuclear bomb. It's more than just that, though, that made this book stand out to me, because as I read it, I started to understand it, because the doctor talks about Saddam invading Iran. And as I read, I was seeing more and more parallels. In the case of Kuwait and in the case of Iran, Saddam invaded neighboring countries, completely unprovoked. In the case of the current the current bombing of Iran by the Trump administration, in the case of the illegal, definitely war crime inducing arrest of the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, these are unprovoked. Justifications fabricated. Lies told directly into cameras. So many lies, so that in the case of our current U.S.-Israeli war on Iran, the administration itself, the Trump administration, the high officials can't themselves keep straight, whether it's ending the nuclear program, destroying all the missiles, destroying the Navy, regime change, not regime change, it is a war, it's not a war. The administration can't even keep it straight. It was very poorly planned out, if at all. The whole thing in Iran smacks of an administration that succeeded very quickly and very effectively in the arrest of Nicolas Maduro, and Trump, who surrounds himself with people that aren't going to tell him no, just like Saddam did. He just decides, well, we did it. That operation in Venezuela was successful. Why wouldn't we be successful in Iran? There's no exit strategy. There's no plan. There's no end game. It's just, we're just going to bomb the shit out of these people. And the expectation, you could see it in Trump's face. You could see it. And Hegseth as well, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. You could see it in their faces. They're like, wow, we're just going to bomb the shit out of these people, and they're just going to capitulate. And Iranian dissidents against the Ayatollah and the mullahs are going to take to the streets and start waving American flags. It's Donald Trump and Saddam Hussein are equally narcissistic, poorly educated. I mean, you can go to a good school and not learn a damn thing, which Trump certainly did. They are equally incurious and braggadocious and foolish people. They are bullies. They have no respect for anyone but themselves, and no thought for anyone but themselves. I mean, the more I read, the more the similarities just kept coming out. They both love to build themselves monuments at the expense of their own people. You think that ballroom is for us? No, that's that ballroom in the place of the East Wing. That's a monument that Trump wants to build to himself. They had both adorned things in gold. They both made shady deals with shady people on black markets. They both being stupid and poorly educated and completely unempathetic deal in the case of Saddam dealt, but in the case of Trump deal currently in strength through threats. Both of these leaders, both of these, in one case an actual dictator, in one case a wannabe dictator, he's getting closer every day, set unrealistic, impossible demands with no plan, no clear direction, just do a great thing for me. Just make this happen. And then when that doesn't happen, harsh punishments handed down. Jailing, trying to prosecute or jail political opponents. James Comey indicted, and then the case eventually thrown out just because he did things that Trump didn't like. And he's not the only one. Trump has given a list, and we know this. This is public information. This is nothing new. Had given a list to the Department of Justice. It said, prosecute these people because they're my enemies. He didn't say that, but prosecute these people. Figure it out. Not these crimes were committed, find the perpetrators. These people are criminals because I said so, because I disagree with them or they with me. Make it work. Donald Trump is not Bush 3.0. Donald Trump is Saddam Hussein 3.0. Argue with me all you want. You're not going to change my mind. Read this book. You'll see. So, what can we do about this situation? Well, certainly don't enlist in the military right now. I've wondered many times since I retired from the Navy a few years ago if someone that I knew well, that I cared about, asked me for advice on enlisting in the military, the Navy in particular, because that's what I was in, what would I say to them? Right now, I would absolutely say don't do it. I was on the fence for a little while there, but right now, no, don't do it. Absolutely do not do it. The list of chest thumping, I should say, leaders of countries who have sworn to their people, we're going to go in there and we're going to kick their asses and we're going to win this war by Christmas, is long and littered with failure. And Trump added himself to that list. So don't enlist in the military. But what can we do that's proactive? Well, I've said before, and I'll say again today, since this Republican-controlled Congress that can't manage to fund things, since they ended all funding for public broadcasting in the United States, I would strongly recommend donating to your local PBS or NPR station. NPR, in particular, is doing their quarterly fund drive right now. So I highly recommend throwing a couple bucks to NPR, because they are continuing to report and hold this administration to account. I'll link in the description how you can do that. A link to donate if you feel so inclined. Also, absolutely get out there and vote. Here in Virginia, we are currently in the midst of a special excuse me, a special election that ends on April 21st. It is a referendum to temporarily redraw the district maps in Virginia for the U.S. House of Representatives, to give Virginia more districts that lean Democratic. It's temporary. When the next census comes around in 2030, the maps will be redrawn based on, not politics, but on the population sizes of the districts. This is a temporary measure to counteract similar measures that have happened in Texas, Florida. Those are the two big ones that everybody's talked about. I'm not sure if there's other. I think there are others that are considering it. But just like California did, redrawing district maps, we're doing it. We're putting it on the ballot here, saying this is not a direction from any single Democrat. This is Democrats saying here in Virginia, hey, people of Virginia, do you want to combat what is clearly an attempt to gain political more political power, a bigger majority in the House and or Senate? Do you want to counteract that temporarily to keep things fair? So I highly recommend, if there's something like that going on where you are, definitely get out there and vote. If you live in Virginia and you want to know how and where to vote, I'm going to find some information and I will link that in the description as well, so you can read up on this referendum and you can find where to vote. As I always say, find your local Democratic organizations. Find city, county, whatever it may be. Find your local Democratic organizations. Gather with them. Become a member. Pay some dues. Put a yard sign up. Show solidarity against this, not just against this administration, but with people of like mind. Because I guarantee you there's more of us than there are of them. I've said that many times and I'll continue to say that. There are more of us level-headed, intelligent people than there are these MAGA idiots. There are more of us than there are of them. Also, remember what's happening right now. Don't let this slip from your mind. We, as a society, keep telling ourselves that we are not going to repeat past mistakes. And then we just go ahead and repeat them. A genocide was committed on the Jewish people by the Nazi state of Germany. And we have allowed ourselves to be complicit. Our country has supplied money and weapons to the genocidal state of Israel, which is currently performing a genocide on the Palestinians in the West Bank and in Gaza. We haven't learned anything. So remember remember that this administration couldn't get straight what the actual goal, what the actual stated, not just justification, but the goals are in Iran. Remember that they couldn't tell you in one voice what we're doing there and why. Don't let the media spin any of this. Remember what's happening right now. Remember the things that you're seeing in the news, the things you're seeing on TV that are making you go, what the fuck is this administration doing? Do not forget these things. Because we're going to need to educate the next generation on how we let these things happen and how they can't make the same mistakes that we did. One of these days, we as a human society are going to learn. I just hope that we're all still alive when it happens. So, that's all I've got for you today. If, like me, you are horrified that the Republican Party has held up Donald Trump as an exemplar of anything other than horrible humanity and horrible conduct, if you recognize a genocide when you see one, if you recognize war crimes committed by Israel, committed by the U.S., all around the Middle East right now, then keep your powder dry and keep your quiet rage. Good night, my fellow Americans.